Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called 25 Mistakes Americans Make When They Visit Europe. So that's good. We don't want to make like anything, make mistakes or anything bad because we don't want them to hate us. So let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
Hey there fellow travelers, Mark here with Walter's World, and today we're in Athens, Greece. We've got the Acropolis behind us with the Parthenon up on top. And today I want to talk about are some of the mistakes that tourists make the first time they come to Europe, or maybe the second or third or 17th time they come here. And the first mistake I hear a lot of tourists make, and it kind of irks the locals when you are here throughout Europe, is really just the idea that you're saying that it's all Europe, like thinking Europe is all the same thing, and it's not. Everywhere you go throughout the continent, you're going to have different people, different vibes, different food, different...
It's because there are like 50 countries over there.
...experiences, because Portugal and Poland are totally different. Cod versus cabbage, it's just a whole different thing. And so just kind of lumping everything together isn't something you should really do. That's why it's important to explore more of Europe than just going to London or Paris or Rome or whatever. There's a lot more to see and more to explore. So don't make the mistake of thinking you're going to one place in Europe, you've seen all of Europe, okay? And another mistake I think people make is when they're planning the European trips, they only explore Europe, meaning Germany, France, Italy, and they don't explore more. Think about getting some of the beautiful places in Eastern Europe. Tallinn, Estonia is gorgeous. Riga, Latvia, Vilnius, Lithuania. Going down to Southeast Asia, seeing Croatia, Serbia, Slovenia is just amazing. And people kind of leave that out because they think, oh no, I need to go to London, Paris, and Rome. Maybe I'll stop at Munich for Oktoberfest. No, that's a mistake. Go and explore other parts.
Yeah, their countries are just like a little bit more famous than others.
Especially if you're looking to come in summertime when it's really, really packed with tourists. By exploring some of these other parts of Europe, you really do get a whole different vibe, like I said. But also you might get a lot less tourists, so you can really enjoy the culture a lot more.
It's true.
No matter where you are in Europe, another mistake I see people make is using ATMs indiscriminately. Look, there are private ATMs, and then there are ATMs at banks. And if you're a traveler, you should try to stick with ATMs that are in banks, because they're usually giving you a better rate. They're usually not like ripping you off, let's say, because sometimes the private ones can have excessive fees, or they do what's called, hey, we'll give you the conversion, which basically gives you a horrible exchange rate, but tells you, oh, but we'll let you know exactly how many dollars are going to come out of your bank account. That can be a really big ripoff. Like I've seen 20-30% differences in exchange rates versus the official rate versus what they gave you in those private ATMs. So just be aware of that. And the thing is, if you get the offer when you're paying with a credit card and they say, oh, you want to pay in euros or dollars, I personally always choose euros because I feel my credit card company back home gives me a better exchange rate than the conversion that the hotel and restaurant are graciously offering me, or ATM. And here's the thing, some of those hotels and restaurants, they don't know about that difference, so they're just trying to help you out by charging you in dollars. Don't do that. So always just pay in euro, okay? Don't do the conversion.
Okay, that's good. I would be like, it's a disaster. Like, I don't know the exchange rate, whatever. Just tell me how much money it is, and that's it.
Another mistake people make is they start speaking louder when people don't speak English.
No.
Look, if people don't speak English, speaking louder doesn't really make a difference. It just makes the situation more awkward. So just know that, hey, if not everyone will be speaking English here. Know a few words, it goes a long way. But that speaking louder part, I mean, I'm here in Athens, and honestly, when you're here, most of the tourism people do speak English. But yeah, you can tell when the people didn't speak perfect English, they just started speaking louder. Don't make that mistake when you're here, okay? And another mistake that my mother would make sure I wanted to tell you is, look, don't make the mistake of thinking it's easy to find a free or clean or nice toilet whenever you need to go.
The greatest culture shock is that you need to pay to use toilets in Europe, I think, for most people in the United States.
Look, when you're going by your hotel, pop in to use the restroom. When you see a nice bathroom, use it, because some places you might have to pay, like in Germany and Austria, you pay to use the toilets in a lot of places when you're there. I mean, they're clean, so you don't mind, but you have that. Other places, I mean, we've been in the islands of Greece, and we've been in places around Italy where it's literally like a hole in the ground that you're squatting over, like a porcelain hole.
What?
So finding a great toilet isn't always a great thing or easy thing to do, so make sure you use the services when they are nice, if you're not sure if you have to go. Now we're here in Lisbon, Portugal, and our next mistake that tourists make when they come to Europe is they think the train is the only way to get around Europe. Because, you know, for the longest time you hear about Eurail, Interrail, and I'm riding the rails through Europe. Yes, you can do that, but here's the thing. If you take those cheap airlines, you can get from Paris to Berlin a lot faster than you can taking the train.
Okay.
Going from the north of Italy to the south of Italy. That can
I guess it actually makes sense. Yes, airplanes are always going to go faster, right, than trains.
You a lot of time and give you more time to explore the city. So don't think it's the only trains. There are things you can do to get anywhere. Airplanes can get you places as well.
It's true.
But I also think this is also a mistake if you only use the planes to go around. Because sometimes taking the train is actually going to be faster.
It's an experience.
Because you get on the train in the middle of the city, you don't have the security checks, you get on, you go to your destination, you get off, you're right in the town, so you don't have to worry about the taxi out to the airport, the getting there 2 hours early, the taxi back in, or the public transportation in. You don't have that. So you want to make sure you're balancing the timing of the flight versus the train when you're getting around. Now, another embarrassing mistake I see tourists make from all over the world, they come here to Europe, and I know Europe's different everywhere you go, but they speak their own language, and they think the locals won't understand. You'd be surprised how many Europeans speak 5, 6, 7 languages. I mean, I'm an American that lived in Europe, and I speak Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, English, German, French, a little bit of Lithuanian, and I can understand things. And I'll be sitting there and here in Portugal, and Lithuanians will go by, and they'll start talking about people, and I'm like,
People
don't say that. That's not nice. So don't make the mistake of thinking people won't understand you if you're talking behind their back. That's a really big thing that happens in hostels when you're like, dude, I know you're talking about how you're going to rob my backpack. Come on. So be aware of that one.
Does that happen? Are people like talking normally about like stealing other people's like belongings? Because that's creepy.
Mistake people make is they only go to the big cities. I'm only going to go to Lisbon and Porto when I'm here in Portugal. I'm just going to do Berlin, Munich, Prague, and Budapest. Yes, those are all big cities, and they're all fantastic to visit. But if you want to get a little more better taste of the local culture, I recommend either throwing in some day trips. So if you're in Berlin, go to Potsdam. If you're in Munich, take a day trip and go to Nuremberg or go to Bamberg or Regensburg. If you're here in Lisbon, go out to Évora and see the UNESCO World Heritage Site that is Évora. Go to Óbidos, and it's going to give you a better understanding of the culture than the big cities will. So don't just do the big cities. Don't make that mistake.
I would think it's both. Like, big cities are also culturally important for the people that actually live there.
Explore even if it's just a day trip from a big city. And that's why it leads into my next mistake is people don't use public transportation not just to get around, but also to get to those day trips, because public transportation throughout Europe will make your life so much easier, and they can make what you think is a daunting ride or drive or whatever into an easy day trip. Going out to Potsdam, like I said, from Berlin. You know, if you're in London, you can do the train and go up to Cambridge or go see Oxford or go to Canterbury, right? You can do all these things on a simple day trip. So don't pass up the public transportation, not just in town, but also just to use it for day trips to go see things.
Yeah, that's
and you know, I was talking about public transportation getting you to those day trips, but I think another public transportation thing, another transportation mistake I see people make is they don't pre-book their tickets for popular routes, okay? So if you're going to be going Venice to Rome, or you're going to be going Barcelona to Madrid, you need to book your tickets early to make sure you get a seat reservation. But also you want to book early, because if you book early, a lot of times in Europe, the tickets are sometimes half the price if you're booking early. I know we saved hundreds of euros by booking our tickets early in Italy last summer, and it saved us so much money just because I booked beforehand. And when
I think it's a little entitled to think that, oh, it's a very popular destination, I'll still get a ticket. It's like, probably not. That's why you should book ahead.
On the train, I've also seen another mistake that tourists make. A lot of times I see it as U.S. tourists, but other tourists as well, Brazilians I've seen do this, the tourists from everywhere, is overpacking. Look, you're not going to have a lot of space when you're here, when you're in Europe, whether it's in the taxi, whether it's in the train, whether it's in your hotel, you're not going to be able to spread everything out. So when you're packing, don't overpack, maybe underpack, because you know you can buy everything here in Europe, right? You can do that. But
depends on what you're saying. I think, like, well, maybe you're not overpacking, you're just packing.
That's a mistake I see people make. Like, they're trying to get 3 suitcases on a train in Italy. You're like, look, there's nowhere to put it. They're staying in a hostel, they're staying in a hotel or apartment thinking they're gonna have all this room, and it's a single bed and there's just not the room for your stuff. So overpacking can be a mistake. It also makes you more of a target to get robbed, because if you got 3 bags, I'm gonna steal 1, you can't run after me with the other 2. Even Fat Me, you couldn't catch.
What's up with all the stealing? Like, nobody, like, it's not the lawless, like, Wild West. Like, nobody's, like, robbing anyone.
Going back to that pre-booking thing, it's not just mistake of not pre-booking travel, also making the mistake of not pre-booking certain sites, because some sites book out way in advance.
Oh, it's true,
the
yeah.
Alhambra in Granada in Spain, you got to book that thing out like weeks in advance,
Yeah.
otherwise it sells out. I mean, if you're going to go in June and July, make sure you're booking it like in April to make sure you get a spot, because if you just show up thinking you're going to get in,
No.
you're going to be out of luck. The Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, you need to go a few days ahead and go online and book your ticket so you can get in instead of being in that huge line or not getting in at all. Now,
Yeah,
to
what's your
continue
time?
this, let's go to another part of Portugal. So now we're here in Évora, Portugal, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the next thing I want to tell you in terms of mistakes I see American tourists make when they come to Europe is really not reading the menu before they start shoveling food in their mouth. What I mean, in places like Portugal and Spain,
You're just
you'll
hungry.
notice that sometimes they'll have bread on the table, they'll have olives there, and you think, oh, back home, chips and salsa, everything's free.
No.
Well, here in Europe, sometimes those things are free, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
So it's important to look at the menu and not
Correct.
say, oh, the pan is €1.60. Oh, the olives are €2, or the cheese is €5. You know, these kind of things. And because I've seen tourists get really upset when they've
If someone's giving you cheese for free, like, please let me know in which country that is.
eaten things they thought were free, and then their actual bill was a lot more than they expected.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know. Okay, so don't make the mistake of just eating what's there. Make sure you check to see if it is included, and if it isn't, feel free to say I'm good. You can take it away, and you won't have any problems. Because I also have had people that were sitting at the beer gardens in Germany. They had the baskets of pretzels there, and they start munching these big pretzels. I'm like, dude, those are like €5 each. Like, there's no sign. It doesn't matter if there's not a sign. You're gonna have to pay it. All right. So
Yeah.
do be aware of that mistake. Another
You have to
mistake I
pay.
see people make when they travel to Europe is they only eat kind of the national dishes of the country that they know from back home. So if you're going to Germany, oh, I'm going to have a bratwurst when I'm in Germany. Well, actually, if you're in Berlin, you should have a currywurst. And if you're in Bavaria, you should have a Weisswurst, the white sausages. There's different sausages you should have
But
in
they're
different
from there.
regions. Here in Portugal, having food from Alentejo is very different than if you're up by Porto. So you want to kind of think about that. And so sometimes it's even just appetizers. I know for me, patatas bravas are my favorite
Delicious.
tapas to have when you go to Spain, like little things to eat. And that's all over Spain. But the thing is, if you're in Cordoba, you want to have the fried eggplant. That's the best tapas to have. But you don't know that. So make sure when you're going to restaurants, ask them, what are some
Yeah,
of the
what's more
regional dishes
local?
that are here? And what's nice is a lot of the smaller towns, they will literally say, and on the menu, these are our regional dishes. This is
Yes.
what you should have when you're here. So don't make the mistake of only eating the national things. You know, I mean, yes, still have them. Like, I still had a lot of patatas bravas, but don't miss out on having those local specialties too. Another mistake I see a lot of tourists make when they come on vacation, I mean, it's vacation, you want to relax, but when you're coming to Europe for vacation, sleeping in is a mistake. Museums close maybe
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 o'clock at night. And therefore, if you're sleeping in till noon and having lunch,
You're
and then
wasting
you get to
the day
actually start
away.
seeing sites at 3 in the afternoon, you'll only have time to see one museum
Yeah.
or one site. So get up early, go see some sites before lunch, have your nice lunch, see some stuff afterwards, and then go to bed early if you need the extra sleep instead of sleeping in and missing out on seeing things. And honestly, a lot of times when I film, I'm actually filming in the morning because it's a lot quieter. You can see the city without tourists running you over. And the thing is, if you're getting up early and you're walking around and exploring and seeing the sights, you start building up your hunger, right? Well, here's the thing. A lot of people forget that there's a lot of lunch specials here in Europe. If you're in Spain, Portugal, Germany, I mean, I've gone all over, and a lot of places will have a special menu for lunchtime where I can have a more traditional meal or a nice meal that might be more expensive.
Oh,
at nighttime.
okay.
I have it at lunch, I can save some coin, okay? So save your money, have
Yeah.
that big meal at lunch. Now, another mistake I see tourists make is kind of professing their family lineage when they're here in Europe. For example, I know a lot of Irish Americans, when they go to Ireland, they say, I'm Irish, my great-great
No, you're
grumpy
not.
grump came over in 1785, and my great-great grumpity grump came over in 1851, and they're so proud, like, I am Irish, or people come here, oh, my family is Portuguese. What you have to realize is, yes, that's important to you as an American coming here or a Canadian.
But not to them.
But for the Irish, they're like, dude, you weren't born here. You didn't grow up here. You're not Irish. The Portuguese, were you born here? Did you grow up here? Do you have the saudades of the homeland? No. Then you're not really one of us. And that's one thing that I've seen like really hurt some kind of tourist feelings when they feel like, hey, my family's from Italy, you know, my family's
Nobody
from Spain.
cares.
And they're like, that's nice. And it doesn't mean as much to the locals
Yes.
here as it does to the tourists that come here. And an expensive mistake I see tourists make is when they come to Europe, they don't get a data plan or an international phone plan when they come here. And then they get an insane, horrible bill from
Yeah.
their phone company because they've been traveling all over Europe.
That's
So
crazy.
please don't forget to get
Yes.
that. Don't make the mistake of not having that plan, okay? And make sure you check all the countries you're going to go to, because sometimes
They're not
all the
covered.
countries are included, or sometimes, oh no, one small country isn't,
Yeah.
and you could get nailed that way. All right, so let's go to another part of Europe to talk about some other of the little mistakes that we see tourists make when they come here to Europe. Now we're here in Nafplio, Greece, and my next mistake I see tourists make is when they're booking accommodation here in Europe, they only book based on price. You're like, oh, that's a cheap place to stay, we'll go there. Like, I'll see tourists going to Rome, and they'll literally stay on the outskirts of Rome because it's, 30% less than staying in the city. And I gotta tell you, when you're wasting 30 minutes or 45 minutes on public transportation going in and going out to the center, or if you miss a connection, you got to take a taxi for 30 or 40 minutes, are you really saving money?
You're wasting
and are you
time.
really saving time? So
Yeah.
I think it's really important for you to balance the price and location of accommodation when you do
Yes.
come here, because if you can stay in the historic part and enjoy the entire time you're here versus having to spend hours in transportation going back and forth, that might be a mistake you want to
Yes.
look into, okay? Now, another mistake I see tourists make is they don't kind of brush up on the geography, history, culture, and language of the country they're going to visit. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a completely fluent person in Greek when you come here, or know the
No,
intricacies of Greek history when
a
you're there.
little.
But just having a rough idea of the
Yeah.
historic background of the country you're going to, the geography of the country, so you know where are the mountains, what are the good place you want to go, where are the main cities located, because if you're coming to Nafplio and you tell people, oh, it's a Nafplio, they go, oh, did you go to Mycenae? Because it's literally like 13 kilometers outside of town. It's right there, and if you don't know, sometimes you miss out. And by understanding a bit better the culture, the language, the people, it can really help. Because honestly, an efharisto or a parakalo, a thank you or you're welcome, goes a long way
Yes,
here in Greece to
it's
get a
nice.
few extra ouzos on the table, and it helps you understand the culture better and helps get more out of your visit, because then you kind of understand how things are. Now, another mistake I see tourists make when they travel is they don't find out about local festivals. Now, yes, there are the world famous ones like Oktoberfest and the running of the bulls in Pamplona.
There's, like, so
You have
many
those things that
festivals.
people know about. But local festivals. We were in Malta during their festas when their parties were going on with the fireworks and the streets all done up. And it's a really fun time. Go to the Festas Populares, the Saints festivals in Portugal in June. I mean, you have all these festivals going to the Christmas markets in
markets.
Germany and Austria at Christmas time. I mean, there's so many great festivals that sometimes people miss out because they just don't know. We were in Cordoba, and I took students there, and part of it was because it was the week that the Cordoba Feria, the fair, was going on. So
Oh,
everyone's
it's
dressed
amazing.
up in the fancy clothes, and the
Yes.
parties are going
It's
on. It's a
great.
really great thing, but you don't want to miss out on that, because those are one of those times when you get to see a lot of like cultural
Yes.
cultural dances, like cultural events, cultural clothing, folk stuff. I mean, it's really a cool
Yeah,
thing.
you get like a better understanding of like the country and the people and the culture.
thing to see. So make sure you don't miss out on some of those. And if you hear that, oh, there's a festival going on in the village down the way, hey, you know what? We need to go to Tolo and go to the festival that's nearby.
Yeah.
Another mistake I see tourists make is they forget that here in Europe, a lot of times you got to pay for some of the extras. You want a bag to put your groceries in? You're probably going to pay for that. You want ketchup with your fries, or maybe more than one packet? You're gonna probably have to pay for
Yeah.
that. And I've seen people get upset. Like, I've seen people in Prague go over the counter because they were so mad that they didn't get free ketchup. Look, the little extras here, don't make the mistake of thinking it's included. Whether it's the bread on the table, the cheese on the table, the
You have to
bags
pay
at the
for
store.
everything.
Just realize that sometimes you got to pay for those little things, like sometimes you got to pay for the toilets in certain spots, right? So do be aware of that, and don't make the mistake of thinking everything's free or everything should happen just because I think it should.
It's like they say nothing in life is free.
You need to be aware of that. And another mistake that I see really disappointing travelers when they travel in Europe is not knowing the kind of schedules and the timing.
Oh, yeah,
for
a lot of
food,
clothes are shop-
restaurants,
a lot of shops are
accommodation,
closed.
museums and sites. Because some places, oh yeah, the sites are open from 9 to 5. Other places it's 8:32. Some places it's only open in the evening time. And you want to make sure you're doing your
kinda hate
research
that.
beforehand to know, when is that museum going to be open?
Yeah.
When is that site open? Is there days
Do
when
your
it's open at
research.
night? What are the days they're closed? Because a lot of places, I've talked about this before, they're closed on Mondays.
Yes, on Mondays.
Some places they're closed on different days, or some places it's free. So make sure wherever you want to go, before you come, check to make sure you know the opening hours and opening
Yeah.
days, so you don't get someplace and go, yes, I'm here to see the Louvre, and I only have Tuesday here in Paris, and
No.
the Louvre is closed on Tuesday.
Terrible
so
luck.
now we're here in Stockholm, Sweden, and another kind of mistake I see Americans make when they come to Europe is their kind of over-reliance on Google Maps, or their over-reliance on trusting that Google Maps is correct.
Oh no.
Look, I can't tell you how many times I've had, the walk from the train station to the hotel is 8 minutes. But when I actually do it, it's 15. Because it's like Google Maps are made for flat surfaces slightly downhill. When you come to Europe, you've got cobblestones, you've got hills, you've got all kinds of other stuff. So it always takes longer to walk anywhere. Like if it says 8 minutes, put like 12 or 15 down.
It's true.
Give yourself an idea. Same thing with driving, because it literally calculates a lot of times, it seems at least, like, oh, it's speed limit and distance, so you're there. Like in the US, you know, oh, if somebody's 60 miles away, it's going to be just under 60 minutes. I'll be there in an hour. Here, I mean, literally in parts of Europe, it may be only like, oh, it's 5 miles away, but it'll take you 20 minutes. But the Google Maps will say something else. So just be aware of that. Give yourself a little bit of extra time.
It's just an estimate. It's not like a proper science.
Okay, and I think another thing is a mistake Americans make is they like, I don't want to come to Europe because it's not safe. I've heard about these pickpocket things. I'm like, look.
Well, it doesn't help that you're constantly talking about people getting mugged and robbed.
If you're from the U.S., there's muggings there. There's carjackings there. We don't have that here in Europe. It's a super safe place. Like you'll see little kids going on public transportation to go to school every day. No big deal, okay? So don't be scared to come here. I mean, obviously use your common sense, like don't leave stuff in your rental car and don't leave your stuff out. I use this safe.
Don't go with your
normal
Rolex.
safety ideas, you want to make sure you do that here. But overall, you feel so much safer when you're in Europe, whether you're in dangerous Eastern Europe, which I just joke about now with some of these things, or you're going to other places like Paris. Yeah, pickpockets are there, but honestly,
I would expect to be like pickpocketers are probably more popular in like very touristy areas. So the Eiffel Tower is going to be like a hot spot for pickpocketers. At least that's my logic.
It's going to be unsafe coming here and you should stay home. No, don't let that stop you from coming to Europe.
No, of course not.
Now, another thing I think we need to talk about, and this is one that's going to probably break your heart or break your perception of your grandma's cooking, and that is thinking you know what the food is really supposed to be like. Now, don't get me wrong, if you go to your local IKEA, or IKEA as we say in the US, their Swedish meatballs, they're pretty spot on with the lingonberries and the mashed potatoes. That's legit stuff. But you know, grandma, you know, who got the recipe from the old country, her spaghetti and meatballs.
It was different.
Yeah, you don't have spaghetti and meatballs in Italy.
Correct.
Spaghetti is one plate, meatballs are another plate. It's not really a thing. And when you go, you start to see,
spaghetti and meatballs is actually like an American invention.
The perceptions and stereotypes and food stereotypes and ideas I had about these countries are different when I get there. So don't be upset when the grandma Spätzle that you had back home in the U.S. is different than the Spätzle noodles you have in Germany.
Who would have known?
So be open to some new food, even if it's old favorites you already know about. And when you're going out to eat, another problem you might notice or a mistake people make is they're never sure if it's cash or card. I think that's a mistake. People don't check beforehand. What do I need to have when I'm there? Because not every country uses the euro.
Ideally both.
I'm here in Sweden and it's the Swedish krona. You have the Swedish crown, they have that. You have the pound when you go to England, you know, but then you have the euro in Germany and you have the euro when you're in Lithuania and you have the euro when you're in Portugal. But the thing is, it's not just making sure you know which money to have. It's also, is it a cash or credit card place? Like here in Sweden, I've been here for a while. I didn't take out any money because you literally pay with your card everywhere. There's places where they don't even take cash.
Love that.
Right? So you want to make sure you know the kind of money situation where you're going to go, because that's where I see people have mistakes. They're like, oh, you mean my American Express doesn't work here? No, it doesn't. Visa, MasterCard, or sometimes just cash. And speaking of the cash thing, I think another mistake I hear a lot, and this is what people tell me why they don't go to Europe, is they make the mistake of thinking going to Europe is really a lot more expensive than just staying in the U.S. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. What scares people off is the flight of a plane ticket to Europe. And yes, getting to Europe, if you come in the summer, it is more expensive than flying to Orlando or LA or New York. However, I will tell you this right now. We have been coming to Europe for decades, and we make the money up by staying at hotels here, because hotels and restaurants, I find, are a lot cheaper to really enjoy life here in Europe than it is in the US. For example, if I go out to a decent restaurant here, I'm paying the same almost as what I'm paying like at a Chili's or something, and I'm getting way higher quality food.
Of course.
I'm not trying to knock Chili's, I'm just saying.
Time and place.
But what really gets it, I think, is the accommodation. Whereas like if I want to get a basic, hotel in New York, $200, $300, $400 just for like a POS hotel room.
It's crazy.
Whereas in Europe, you'd be getting an outstanding place. Like, I mean, literally, when we come, we'll go for 2 or 3 weeks, and the money we save in accommodation pays for the boys' plane tickets and saves us money that actually it's better for me economically for my business to come filming in Europe than it is for me to travel around the U.S.
That's
so
insane
don't
to
let
me.
the fear of Europe is so expensive get to you. And the thing is, there's parts of Europe that are expensive, Norway, Switzerland, coming to Stockholm, but if you look at the capital, prices drop a lot. It's like if you compare New York City prices to the rest of the US, the prices drop quite a bit, right? So you kind of think about that. Another mistake Americans make when they come to Europe is thinking you can meet people at luggage claim. Look, when they're in the US, you actually have the luggage carousels are out in the open. Anybody can meet you there. Here in Europe, it's actually behind security, so you have to get your bags and then go outside. So you won't meet your family right here. You'll meet them outside. And to finish off, we're back here in Greece. We're actually in Hania on Crete. And I think another mistake I see tourists make when they come to Europe is they really think that the magic fanny pack is going to save them. You know the magic fanny pack?
No.
It's that feeling you feel when you go on vacation thinking nothing can possibly go wrong. I'm safe everywhere I go. Nothing can possibly happen to me if I walk out in the middle of the street to take a picture.
I'm tourist.
Look, you still have to be, smart and
of course,
be aware of your surroundings when you travel. And I see people that get really upset and kind of give up on their vacation because something bad happens. It does happen. People do get pickpocketed. You do get robbed.
That things will happen all the time.
You get sick. You do twist an ankle. These are all things that happen to us.
Yeah.
And we keep on traveling. Don't let those things kind of get in your way, but also don't think things don't happen. Right? And I think that's one of those things that people think is that I'm protected because my magic fanny pack, my magic traveling bag will keep me safe. And that is not the case. You still have to use some common sense when you travel. And I'm specifically talking to people that like to stand in the middle of the road and try to get pictures of the Eiffel Tower or something when traffic's going. Yeah, people get hit all the time. That's why traffic accidents are probably the #1 cause of death for travelers. So just be aware of that, okay? Another mistake I see a lot of Americans make when they come here to Europe is they just try to see everything. Like, I want to see 20 countries in 3 days. I mean, it's not that extreme.
That would be the dream.
What you realize is that, look, when you're traveling around, do you really want to spend most of your vacation time actually on a train or in an airport or on a plane, or do you want to be
It depends. Sometimes your vacation can be just that, taking trains.
Exploring, seeing beautiful places like Hanya and going to eat the fantastic food and seeing the beautiful museums and laying on the beaches? Or do we want to go and, we got another early flight to get to another island, we got another flight to get to another city? You want to think about that so you can enjoy it. Now, there's nothing wrong with seeing a lot of places. We actually have a video on how to see a lot of places very efficiently. But honestly, if you're trying to do too much, it burns you out and then you don't really get to enjoy the culture as much. So kind of have that in mind when you're kind of planning out.
I mean, I get it, yeah.
Another slight mistake tourists make when they do travel in Europe is not realizing the driving etiquette is in different places. For example, here in Greece, the shoulder is like a third lane. Passing? Sure, whenever. Just move over if someone's coming around you. Oh, on the Autobahn? Yeah, there's no speed limit. And if you think you're driving fast, there's somebody coming up behind you in a BMW or Mercedes going even faster, so you don't park in the left lane. And you left lane drivers back in the US that come to Europe, do not do that here. Because you can't get a ticket for it. And you need to realize there are those differences, and so they make those mistakes like, hey, there's no turns on red here, and you might get a ticket. And if you think the ticket people, like the police that give out those tickets, won't find you because you have a rental car in another country,
they'll charge
don't
you.
Worry. They'll find you and they'll get their money from you. Don't you worry about that.
I have no doubt.
Okay? And then I want to say this. This is a mistake I see a lot of tourists make, and that is they just buy a lot of cheap, crappy souvenirs, whether for themselves or for their friends to get back when they go home, and that's a mistake. Because why are you buying 10 €5 keychains when you can buy yourself one, like, 25-euro painting from a local artist, or get yourself a cool shirt that's something you'll wear more often than just one time? Because when you get people cheap souvenirs, guess what? They say thank you and then they throw it away after a week or two. How many of you still keep all your snow globes from years ago or all the little souvenir stuff? No, you end up throwing it away, or you feel bad throwing it away. Better thing to do, send people postcards when you're traveling, because it shows you're thinking of them.
That's very thoughtful.
And then they get a stamp from another country. Oh, that's kind of cool. They thought of me. It's something they might keep. But if they throw it away, you're only out like €2 instead of 5, 10, 25 euros for getting some kind of crappy souvenir.
It's a nice gesture.
So I hope this helps you know some of the mistakes that tourists make when they come to Europe. What other mistakes that you see tourists make? Please let us know in the comments below so everybody can be better travelers when they come here to Europe. Also, I gotta say, we have a video on the don'ts of visiting Europe that kind of complements this. Has a little bit more serious tone to it to help you have a better time traveling no matter where you are. From Finland to here in Greece to England to wherever. Enjoy your travels, my friends. Bye from here in Hania, Crete, in Greece.
Okay, yeah, incredible. Like all of it, I think I agreed with like all of them, except for like maybe like so almost everything. I feel like he was like, oh, do not be like deterred by the fact that there's like robberies all over Europe. It's like, No, it's actually pretty safe. Although it's funny that he was like also talking about like referencing, do not bring like too many baggages, like too many baggage, like too many suitcases. Like they'll rob you. You'll be an easy target. It's like, okay, weren't this supposed to like it's actually like quite safe. I mean, obviously it's a joke. I know that it is quite safe, and in the U.S., like you can actually, yeah, you can also. I think pickpocketers are probably like less popular. I would venture to say yes. They're not as popular in the U.S., but like still bad things can happen. Like yes, you know, sometimes like dude, you can get robbed. I don't know, I don't know, whatever. Like still stuff happens. Just different, you know, different crimes, but like bad things actually like do happen. But it's funny that on one hand, but on the other, I think it's like very funny that he was actually like referencing, oh, when you like you think like the magic fanny pack. I think that's what he called it. Of like, yeah, you're thinking, oh, because I'm taking this vacation, right? So I planned this whole trip for the last, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months. This is like I'm traveling now. You know, I already made my plans. I booked ahead, whatever. So you think like you plan sort of like as much as you can. And then when you actually get there, because again, you're not, I can't see the future. Like I can't know what's going to happen in like 6 months from now. So when you go there, you're thinking, oh yeah, you know, this is a beautiful trip. I planned this, you know, I went and I tried to like plan as much as I can. But even then, you know, some unexpected things will happen, right? Like he said, maybe you're gonna choose your ankle, or I know you had a connection that you missed, or again, someone maybe even you got like pickpocketed, you know, like it happens. The thing is like, dude, this is not gonna be like, oh my god, so this happened to me, so I will not be back. Like I don't know, you're in Rome and this happens, and you're like, I will never go back to Rome. I want to leave as soon as possible. Well, obviously, it depends, and sometimes you're like, oh, it's a traumatic experience. I don't want to go back. But what I'm going with this is that usually I think, again, you're trying to like plan ahead as much as you can because you think like it's going to sort of like reduce the chances of anything negative probably happening. But those things will happen, and that doesn't mean that, oh, it's bad to travel, or it's a bad country, or, you know, like this, I should have stayed at home. It's like, no, it doesn't mean absolutely any of that, but I think like you can easily sort of like your mind sort of like goes to that, sort of like to that side. Because obviously sort of like a self-protective, a way to like to protect yourself and to protect your brains, being like, oh, if I hadn't done this, like I wouldn't be in this position. But it's funny that you're thinking, and that's why like, oh, I'm banning travel, I'm banning going to Europe, I'm banning this country. And it's funny because it's like, imagine if like everything in life, like if that would be like your mindset of like, oh, you know, you're going to your workplace and like, I don't know, you, something bad, you know, I don't know. You had a car crash or something. Like you're not thinking, great, you know, I should have quit my job. It's like, no, this is, you know, these are like very dramatic things. But it's like that things can happen like anywhere. So it is like, well, yeah, you know, it's not really no one's fault. Although I do think I agree with a little bit of this, is that as a tourist, I think you're not thinking about like the worst possible outcome. I think if you're like, because if you live somewhere, you know, just like in your daily life, you're probably more aware of like other risks or of what like, oh, something wrong, like what could go wrong, like what could happen. But I think like when you're traveling, I think you're sort of like, you're like your rose colored glasses, and you're thinking, but you know, because everything looks beautiful, everything looks real, but you think like it's like when kids hide, and like when they play like hide and seek, and they think like, oh, if I'm hiding myself and like if I can't see you, like you can't see me. It's something like this, but it's like, yeah, you're wearing like your rose tinted colored glasses, but you're thinking, and everything looks great, and you're thinking, oh, but they're gonna see me in the same way, so this is like nothing bad's gonna happen to me, like nothing, no one's gonna like want to mug me or just things that are like by chance, like he said, like no one's gonna crash into me, no one's gonna run me over, a bicycle's gonna come and run me over. Like I think because again you're thinking, oh, because everything looks great, because obviously you're so excited about being in a new place or being in a new city, and you know, find and understanding and actually knowing like different cultures. So that was like, yeah, I mean, sure, I think probably I've been guilty of this in the past as well. But it's always good to like someone to remind you of like, again, you as a tourist, like you can get blinded like by the shiny and the pretty lights of like, oh my god, everything's so pretty. But yeah, still be safe and still like be aware that still bad things can happen. Just like when you're home, you're thinking, hey, you know, I probably should be more cautious of like of certain things. As for like the price, I do think like there were like great advice in when it comes to like money. the whole like saving, like how can you save money? It's like in accommodation. Yeah, of course. Like I think when you're looking at the plane tickets, that's usually like the most expensive part of a trip. I think, yeah, probably. I think mostly, yeah, because airplane tickets. But we're talking about like continental travel, not just like going from one city, in in the same country. Usually, again, plane tickets are the one that I'm like, oh my god, like I'm thinking, I don't think I can make it because it's really expensive. But I think it's true that once you actually like do the math and sort of like you start budgeting, like actually let's budget this. Like how much money do I have for like the tickets, and for am I gonna stay, or where am I gonna stay, like at a hotel or an Airbnb, a hostel, like which is probably cheaper. And that's where the actual part of like the budgeting comes in. And like he said, maybe like if you do the math, it's not really that expensive, because what you're saving, like, yeah, you're paying more for the for the plane tickets, but you're paying like probably less money in where you're staying. That if like you feel like his example, I don't know, like if you like, maybe let's say like you go to Santa Monica or you go to LA, you're gonna save a little. Although I don't know what you would, but I don't know. I'm thinking like out loud. Like it's gonna be like a little more. Probably it's gonna be more expensive. So it's like, yeah, the plane ticket, like when you're traveling over there, it's like, no, it's kind of cheap. Yeah, but it's like when you look at the prices of like of the hotels, like it's gonna give you like a heart attack. So I do really like this, because it's like, do not let this to be like, it's gonna be quite a shock, early on, if you're like planning or you're thinking about like going to Europe. When you look at the plane tickets, it's gonna be like, oh, absolutely not, I'm not going. But no, like actually start to see like, no, how much exactly, how much money do I need exactly? And that's where it comes in, and you're like, oh, well, actually, like I don't need, like it's gonna be okay, and it's actually affordable to me. It just depends, but I think it really does. Like he said, location is also everything, and you really do have to. Yeah, you're not staying, like, again, if you're in Paris, like you're not, and you're tight on your budget's a little bit tight. You're not gonna be staying like right in front of the Eiffel Tower. Like that's those hotels are incredibly expensive. But you don't want to, like he said, you also have to like take into account, like you don't want to go so far away that it's just gonna take you like forever to actually get to like the museums and all the like locations that you want to go. So it's like, okay, you have to really do find a balance. And yeah, again, part of a travel, of planning a vacation and planning is like a traveling like this it's the planning. And obviously you're not like running against like, oh, we have like a time limit. No, that's why you plan things ahead. You're like, well, yeah, this is my budget, like can I go this, maybe some countries are just like, no, this is plain like way too expensive for me. And that's also like, again, there's like Europe, there's like so many countries, there's like so many hidden gems that I think ultimately probably would be the better. Like it's gonna be more it's gonna be cheaper to get there, plane tickets as well included. It's gonna be cheaper. And also, of course, like the accommodations, hostels, and whatever, they're gonna be a million times cheaper than popular places, like I don't know, popular cities, like I don't, like you said, like Madrid, London, Rome, like Florence. Of course, those places are gonna be like incredibly expensive. But if you go to like Eastern Europe, which is like, again, he was like, oh, nobody wants to go there. Like you're probably gonna have like, I mean, it's an incredible. Obviously, they have like incredible countries. You're going to enjoy yourself. And it's probably going to be like much cheaper than going to other places in Europe, and probably including in the US. Like it's probably going to be cheaper than going on vacation to like Disneyland. So I think that it's like, again, great pieces of advice. And the others of like being, yes, you have to be like, with your money, like nothing is free. Like if they'll give you like bread and stuff, like you can just say, hey, this is complimentary, or probably it isn't. It's like, do not believe the pretzel stories. Like, do not believe that someone like puts something on like in your table. It's gonna be, hey, I didn't ask for this. I didn't order this. Oh yeah, sure. Like they'll just give it to you for free. Like very few places do this. If not, like I don't know, that doesn't really happen. So it is funny that people are like getting so annoyed and fighting over this, which is like, well, what would you expect to be like free? Because that would be a crazy notion. And I will end this by saying, like, the whole driving situation, like, it gives me a little nervous, because it's like, yeah, driving can be like a stressful experience. Not that it has to, like, sometimes, of course, it's like very relaxful. That, you know what isn't, I think, like, at least personally, it's not something like, oh, that's so relaxing. Like traveling to an unknown country, and then you're driving in the conditions of like said place has its own rules that you are not, like, I'm not used to, like how things work around here. Like that seems like my idea of not having it, like this is not good. I'm not having a good time. This is not relaxing. This is kind of like awful, especially I think when it comes to like probably like cities, like I don't know, like bigger, like tighter cities. I know, like if just don't rent a car, it'll be probably cheaper and you can just move around. But it's like, no, if I have to like I have to study, you know, hey, give me like a manual, like a driving manual, or just a refresher of how things are done over there. Because it's like, no, I don't want to get a ticket. I think like it would be very good if you just, I don't know, but even then, because of course I'm thinking of like on a highway, like you go like the long distances, it's good maybe if you rent a car, because it's gonna be like, you know, on a train it's also like good, but I think you have less control over your time. Because obviously if you see like a nice little town or you just want to stop, you're not able to because you know you're on a train. But when you have a car, that's so great about like road trips is that if you find something that looks good to you, like you can just pull over, you can just stay, you can be like, hey, no, we're staying here for the night. So when I'm thinking of like about something like this, I'm thinking of like greater distances and longer distances and probably like highways and stuff. But it's still gonna be like you still need to know like, hey, can you tell me like what what kind of things are like forbidden over here? So that's where like the whole like stress situation comes in. And again, if you're in the city, like absolutely not. That does not seem like you're driving like, so if you're in London, they're driving on the opposite side. Every country has its own like driving rules. So it's gonna be like, oh my god, no, I'm here on vacation. I'm not here to actually like, be stressed about something or be like, oh my god, what? Like people are like coming at me, people are like honking, like he's like, you're thinking you're going fast? Like there's someone that goes like, I don't know, 10 miles higher than you. You're like, oh my god, I don't know. Like everyone's like, it's gonna be a very stressful situation. So I do agree that unless you know that you're in the proper mindset and you're willing to like do your studying, no, just focus on learning of your words of the country that you're in and just like, no, I'll get around in either bus or like public transport, like he said, or again, like airplanes or trains, you know, depending on what kind of like, you know, what kind of vacation you're having and obviously your budget as well and where exactly you want to go. But that was it for today and I'll see you next time. Bye.